What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Primetime Sports Podcast, hosted by Joey McLaren. So tonight is the Giants' last preseason game before the regular season begins. They're going up against the New York Jets in the Snoopy Bowl tonight at MetLife Stadium. It is a 6 p.m. game on NFL Network. In this preview here, I'm just going to give you a list of a few players that are on the bubble right now to make the roster for the Giants. A couple guys to keep your eye on that are backups that are fighting for a potential roster spot right now. We're going to start out with cornerback Darnay Holmes. He allowed just one catch in the preseason for 14 yards on 3 targets. Was a former draft pick for the Giants in the 2020 NFL Draft. I loved what I saw out of him coming out of college when the Giants drafted him. And then I've loved what I've seen out of him in the NFL as well. The problem is he still is competing for a roster spot here. He's competing with Cordell Flott for the backup slot role for the Giants during the preseason. The starting slot role was handed to rookie cornerback Trey Hawkins. He's going to be the starter for the Giants, it looks like, at that position. But now Holmes is competing for that backup slot spot. I'd imagine Cordell Flott ends up winning that role. It seems like Cordell Flott's not going to get cut. He's going to be on the team no matter what. But Darnay Holmes has been fighting for a roster spot. If you look at it, he's a little bit more costly than a younger cornerback like Trey Hawkins, like Cordell Flott. Darnay Holmes, if the Giants were to cut him, I believe would save around $2 million. I'd love to see Darnay Holmes stay. He's a good tackle who plays hot every possession, and he's made some plays for the Giants defense over the last couple years. But the way things stand right now, he is still fighting for a roster spot. Another guy still fighting is wide receiver Colin Johnson, who has logged only 9 snaps in the preseason. He's the only one of the Giants' 11 receivers in the preseason that has not recorded a reception. And that's because he was hurt, too. He has missed some time now in the preseason with an injury, and that's obviously the worst time to get hurt is during the preseason when you're on the roster bubble and you're still fighting to try to make it. And the way things look right now, it looks like Bryce Ford-Wheaton, a rookie undrafted free agent, will end up taking his spot as the last wide receiver on the roster due to his abilities on special teams and also Colin Johnson not playing in the preseason. It's just a tough time to get injured. Another guy that's on the bubble right now is running back Gary Brightwell, who missed the first 2 preseason games with a leg injury, and it's tough to compete and make a roster when you're hurt and other guys are playing over you because you're not out there and you're not available. And I'm not sure if Gary Brightwell's going to play today, but he is on the bubble the way things stand right now. He can contribute on special teams. He can run hard, has kick returns as well for the Giants last season. But the way things stand right now, he is on the bubble. And I think he can be a very good player for the Giants if given more opportunities. I've said it now in multiple episodes. I think Gary Brightwell would be the RB2 if I was the Giants offensive coordinator. It'd be Gary Brightwell as the backup running back to Saquon Barkley. I think Brightwell has a bright future in the NFL. I think he's a very good back who runs hard, very elusive as well, very shifty, and he also could hit you with power as well. I like Gary Brightwell, what I've seen, but he is still competing for a roster spot. Not sure if he's playing today, but I hope he does, and I hope he balls out if he is out there. Next up are 2 linebackers for the Giants, and that's Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown. With the Giants bringing in linebacker Isaiah Simmons this past week in a trade with Arizona, it makes it even harder for Coughlin and Brown to make the roster. Both of these guys were drafted by Dave Gettleman in the 2020 NFL Draft and have contributed mostly on special teams in their Giants career. They were both used in situational plays at linebacker, but they're mostly special teams contributors for the Giants. They're both right now, though, on the bubble. I believe one of them will make it over the other. I think Coughlin ends up making it over Brown. I think Coughlin's a little bit better of a linebacker than Brown is, so I'm going to give Coughlin the edge there. Another player to watch out for that's on the bubble right now that I think ends up making it is Jashaun Corbin, a running back for the Giants, who was on the practice squad last season, was very good in the preseason last year, made it as a practice squad player, and now has been balling for the Giants in the preseason. Could end up being the 4th running back if the Giants decide to carry 4 running backs. He has 45 rushing yards in the preseason with 33 yards as a long, 4 catches for 19 yards. I think Gary Brightwell's a better back than Corbin. I think Gary Brightwell's a better back than Gray and Breida. But the way things stand right now, he has an uphill battle to make this roster considering he hasn't played it all in the preseason. And guys like Jashaun Corbin have been taking advantage of their opportunities and making big plays like a 33-yard run. I think Corbin ends up making this team, and it's tough to see for a guy like Gary Brightwell, a guy I'm a big fan of. I think he deserves to be on the team, but considering he hasn't played in the preseason, there is a chance that Joe Shane and the Giants front office does move off of him. Next up is safety Javarius Owens, who was a 7th-round pick in this year's draft of the Giants, and I love what I've seen out of him in the preseason. He's got 9 tackles in the preseason. He's a fun competitor to watch. He's given it his all every single possession. He's another guy that plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's still fighting for a roster spot, though. We'll see if he makes it, though. I like what I've seen out of him, and I hope he does make the roster. I think he deserves it. Next up is linebacker Tamon Fox, who was a preseason favorite last year, made the roster last season, and is now competing with O'Shane Ximines for a roster spot. And if you compare those 2 guys, Fox is on a cheaper deal, and he's also a better hitter. Ximines did have his best season since his rookie year last season, where he had 2 sacks and 8 quarterback hits, but I think Fox ends up winning this battle. In the preseason, Fox already has 4 tackles and a sack, and has shown his ability to hit. He's a big hitter, can make big plays for that Giants defense maybe as a backup. I think Fox ends up winning that role over Zimenez. And then the last guy here I'm going to mention is defensive lineman Jordan Riley, who is a 7th-round pick in this year's draft to the Giants. And I think he's already shown enough to make this roster. The way things stand right now, I think he makes the roster. He's got heavy upside and can be a disruptor in the trenches for the Giants. In the preseason already in 2 games, has 4 tackles and a tackle for a loss, and wins a lot of his battles versus the offensive line. I think he ends up making it on this team, and I think he deserves a roster spot. The way things stand, though, the Giants are going to have to make a lot of cuts, a lot of tough cuts. There are guys on the border. Right now with that wide receiver group, there's a lot there, and there's a lot of players. You got guys like Isaiah Hodgins, Paris Campbell, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, and Wanda Robinson already made the roster, but then you have some other tough decisions to make, like Sterling Shepard, who I think should make the roster just as a veteran, and he's also very reliable still over the middle. Shep does make a lot of catches. When you hit him in the chest, he's going to make the catch. I like what Shep has brought to this team as a leader, and I love seeing him on the sidelines talking to the rookies and the young guys. I think he should make the team. But they have some other tough decisions to make. Cole Beasley and then Jameson Crowder. I think one of those 2 guys ends up making it, and the other one gets cut. I think Beasley ends up being the guy, though. I think he's a little bit more reliable, especially in short situations. Beasley always finds a way to get open on 3rd and short. He's like Julian Edelman. You always find a way to get him the ball on 3rd and short because you know he's going to end up getting the first down for you. Then you have some other guys. Bryce Ford-Wheaton, Colin Johnson. I think one of those 2 guys ends up making it over the other one, and I think it ends up being Bryce Ford-Wheaton over Colin Johnson. And the Giants still have some other talented wide receivers as well that I don't think are going to make the roster, like Jaden Mickens, like Khalil Pimpleton. I think Pimpleton ends up being a practice squad candidate for the Giants. But those 2 guys both have speed, both can kick return, and both can get open as well. But the Giants are just too deep. Mickens was more of a kick returner in his career so far in the NFL, helped out the Bucs a lot in that Super Bowl run in 2020, where he always found a way to get them good field position. But I don't think that's going to be the case here for the Giants. I think he ends up getting cut. Unfortunately, just the Giants are so deep at wide receiver. So there's a lot of tough decisions to make. And by Tuesday, August 29th, the Giants have to get their roster down from 90 to 53. Every team in the NFL has to go from 90 players to 53 by Tuesday. So there's going to be over 1,000 players probably cut and that are going to become free agents by Tuesday. So there's a lot of tough decisions to make for the Giants and the rest of the NFL as well. Every GM is going to be very busy this weekend figuring out who's going to make the roster and how their depth chart's going to work. And now one last thing I want to mention here in this game is that Aaron Rodgers will make his Jets debut tonight alongside many of the Jets starters. It seems like they're going to be rolling with a lot of their starters to start the game. Expect to see Aaron Rodgers try to hit Garrett Wilson early. They're going to try to get that relationship more now, considering they've only been working on it in practice and joint practices. Now when you're on the field, it's a little bit easier to get more chemistry when you're going up against a real defense in a live game. The Giants' backups are expected to play in this game. Maybe you'd see the Giants starting defense for a drive, but I think it's unlikely. I think it's going to be all backups for the Giants in tonight's game. I don't think you'll see Daniel Jones, considering how good Daniel Jones looked last week in his lone drive against Carolina. It's not worth throwing him out there and risking injury. I think Daniel Jones ends up sitting. I'd expect to see a lot of the Giants' backups. So with that being said, I'd love to see Cordell Flott and Donnie Holmes ball out for this Giants secondary. Javarius Owens as well. They're going up against Garrett Wilson, Mecole Hardman, Allen Lazard. I can't wait to see that matchup there to start the game. And for the Giants, as I said, expect to see a lot of backups. Expect to see Tommy DeVito at quarterback for a lot of the game. He's been tough, and I like what I've seen from him in the preseason. I think he ends up making it as a practice squad candidate, which would be great for him considering he's a local kid. It's probably a dream come true. Just being on the Giants for the preseason and making it as a practice squad player would be even better for him. So hopefully it's a good game tonight. We'll see what happens for the Giants. I'm not going to give really too many predictions in this game considering the Giants aren't playing any starters. It's really hard to throw out a prediction here. So I'm going to go with it being a fun game, hopefully, to watch. It is the Snoopy Bowl. Jets-Giants tonight. Jets, as I said, playing their starters. The Giants probably rolling with a lot of backups. A couple guys to keep your eye on, though. I already mentioned Javarius Owens, Cordell Flott, Donnie Holmes, Tamon Fox, Bryce Ford-Wheaton, Colin Johnson, maybe Garrett Brightwell if he were to play. All of those guys keep an eye on. And then also James Robinson as well. He's another backup running back for the Giants. The Giants picked him up just about a month or so ago now. And I haven't really seen too much from him, though, in 2 preseason games. I think it ends up being a cut for the Giants. And obviously, it's been a tough last year for him, jumping from team to team, from Jacksonville to the Jets to the Patriots, now to the Giants. It's been a tough road there for James Robinson, a guy that was an undrafted free agent in the 2020 draft, ends up being a good contributor for the Jaguars offense for a couple seasons, but just has not really contributed much over the last year. So we'll see what happens there, but it's on a tough road there for James Robinson. He'll probably play a lot in tonight's game, so maybe he'll get another opportunity, but I think he ends up being a guy that is cut by the Giants by Tuesday. Anyways, it will conclude this episode. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to this. As always, I appreciate it. Hope you guys have a good one and enjoy your weekend. I will see you guys in the next episode.